Can everyone see my screen all right and hear me all right?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So I'll just go ahead and get started. All right, so welcome everybody to this session today. We are so thankful that you've chosen to use this hour with us. We are excited about you joining the information today is going to be on inclusive communication and how our relationship has helped us understand the power of games to guide you through inclusion. All right, so my name is Rahel Heineke, and this is my right-hand man, my husband, Matthew.
Hello, nice to meet you all. And as you can see here on the right side of the screen is our beautiful and colorful family. And some of those kids look angry. I promise you, they're not always angry. Most of the time, they're happy and having fun.
So, babies are not born with bias. In fact, research suggests that they gain a bias towards spaces during the first year of their lives. And as they grow older, these biases, whether consciously or unconsciously, become what they use to determine how the things they do and the things they say. So in a sea of about 180 biases, how do we go about detaching of ourselves from some of these biases? The first way to do that is you have to identify the bias. Identification is the only way you get to begin. So you need to ask yourself this question. What are the biases that you have, that you at least know about? And what are you doing to address those biases? I am going to begin by telling you how to identify and then how to eliminate. Then after that, I will talk to you about how games can help you go through that process and guide you to inclusion. The number one thing to know about when you identify bias is communication is the only way you're going to get through it. Eliminating bias and stereotypes, you will have to talk to people. You will have to experience new things, but communication is the highlight of everything. So Matt and I went through this process, and it helped us get to know each other better and faster, and helped us eliminate some of those biases and stereotypes. But that's because we had a lot of conversations and a lot of games. We love playing games. But like I said, the process wasn't overnight. So we realized we had been through something. We went through stages. And these stages, we'll call them the decaf process. Decaf, as decaf would suggest, you are eliminating something. The process itself of decaf is one that is designed to help you understand where you are in your process of identifying biases and becoming a more inclusive person. Decaf stands for denial, exposure, curiosity, acceptance and respect, and finding common ground. I'm going to break each one of those down on how they go about.
And I hope none of you are decaffeinated. We need you wide and awake and ready for this presentation.
That's right. So the first one is denial. Denial is when you're completely unaware that you have biases. I am sorry if you haven't heard this before, but everyone has biases. Some you might know about and some you might not. I'll give you a good example of one of mine that I do know. I did not like fish. I'm aware of that. I told Matt right away, I don't eat fish. I don't want anything to do with it. And I'm not going to put it in my mouth. Forget it. I knew it. I know that I'm biased, but I don't want to do anything about it. And that is an example of a known denial. The next one is exposure. Now, this is when you sit down and you think about it and you're like, oh, I do have some biases. It's like taking a flashlight and exposing it inside your head, like, oh, there you are. I see you now. You want to expose the bias, take notice of it. And the only way to do that is just sit and think. For example, your three best friends, if they look like you, you have to wonder, why is that? Or let's do restaurants. How come you eat at those restaurants, but not these ones over here? Wonder why? Bias is not a bad thing. The mind uses bias in order to help us stay alive, identify the dangers faster. But it goes from A to Z and it doesn't calculate B, C, D. So you can see how that could be a problem because you don't know what's in the middle. So exposing allows you to now take notice, I am at A, what's B, C, D? So you move into curiosity.
Oh, just one thing. When you're exposing those biases, you start to notice them more and more. And since Rahel and I have been talking about this for a long time now, I start to notice bias everywhere. Everything I do has some kind of bias in it, from the time you wake up till the time you go to sleep. So I think it's important to remember to not be overwhelmed and not overthink everything that you're doing, but just focus on those biases that you believe that you should focus on, the things that you probably should change in order to be more inclusive.
That's right. So now on the next step, when you come to curiosity, this is where you take action. So you notice them on the last stage, but on this stage, you're going to take action and do something about it. You're going to consciously say, I am going to try that restaurant. I am going to find out more about that person who's completely different from me. This action requires braveness. So this stage is a lot of braveness needed. Now, a good example is like the one where I wasn't eating any fish, but eventually there's some few fish that I did put in my mouth somehow because I had to be brave though to do that. And a really good example is just recently, like 2 days ago, we were at a bar and a friend invited us to go to a biker club, biker bar. Me, first reaction, no. There's no way you're sending me to a biker bar. But that's because that was a bias and I just immediately thought, no, that was my answer. But then I moved to the next stage of exposure. Why don't I want to go to the biker club? And then I realized I'm completely biased. I mean, do Black people go to biker bars? I mean, I've never seen one. So, sure, that's just not where to go. But eventually I said, okay, Matt, let's go, we're going. It was scary because as soon as we got there, I was like, maybe I won't go. I changed my mind. There are absolutely no Black people there, but I still went and I was brave and I had a good time. So after you move from curiosity, and I'm going to talk about curiosity a little bit more a little later.
And I think one thing, when I think about curiosity, I think it's one of the most important steps. As a child, we're curious. I mean, we're curious throughout our whole lives. We're always curious about, what's this, what's that? And even though curiosity can be scary, right? To step outside of your comfort zone, do something different, go to a biker bar, it's very rewarding. Once you do step outside that comfort zone and you experience something new and different, that's what it adds the spice to your life.
Mm-hmm. So then from there, you move to the acceptance and respect. After I went to the biker bar, I realized I was completely biased. It was fun. There were people, they were great. So this part, I accept that they're different from me, but it's okay to be different. Differences actually makes us stronger. Matt and I discovered that really fast because we had a lot of landmine topics. We still have some landmines here and there, but we're navigating. But we have not only our race is different, culture is different, religion is different, our generation is different. I mean, we have everything that could spark a volcano in this house. Yeah. could happen. But we realize those differences are a good thing. We can use those differences to become even stronger. And it really does work. We do feel much stronger together than we are apart with our different ideas and thoughts. The last step is finding common ground. So like I said, Matt and I could have killed each other a long time ago, but we are standing here, so we made it. So we learn to coexist and finding halfway. It's very important that you find halfway, but how? We have found out that for us, it was finding the common ground. Think of it like common ground as a brick. When Matt and I agree on something together, it gives us a brick to lay down and move closer to each other. Because some of those topics were very far apart. I am not going to come to that side and you are not coming this way. But we can meet in the middle. And that starts by finding common ground. With 5 children who are different colors, different ages. Oh my gosh, I cannot explain the number of times we went to Chuck E. Cheese and the 15, 16-year-old is like, this is hell. But then if we go that way, these are the ones who go complain. We got to find some middle ground somewhere.
Sometimes there is no, it's your way or my way. And you can see that a lot today in today's politics and the dialogue going on social media. But if you think about it, maybe a subject that's very controversial, like gun control laws. All right. Everybody kind of has their stance, and I'm sticking to it. But I think we can all agree that, mass shootings are bad. Nobody likes mass shootings. And I'm sure that there are some actions that we can take as a country that we agree on. And the thing is that I think we focus too much on the things that we disagree on instead of focusing more on what we agree on.
Yes, focus on those bricks, finding common ground. So from here, it's not an easy step, by the way, I might say. Finding the common ground is not always an easy thing to do. So there I have walked you through the decaf process. Now I'm going to explain to you how games come in to help you walk through this decaf process more easily. As I said before, at the curiosity level is where you're taking action. So now you're more open-minded at that level. Games provide, therefore, a good way to come in and kind of influence the way you think about others who are different from you. Now, I gotta say, games doesn't just mean that, okay, it starts from curiosity and then I go to acceptance and finding common ground. It can expose other things you don't know. So you could be playing with someone and then discover a bias. Oh, so you can have more than one biases going through this process, and they can be at different parts of this process. And this process goes round and round. It's something you do all the time. It's not a one and done. But the games come in because they allow you to start conversations. And how they do that is when you're playing games, you're more relaxed and you're more able to see who the person is, and you forget about all their differences. So it makes those conversations come easier along the way as you keep doing them. So before we jump into more information, let's get playing and see how fun goes, Yeah,
we're gonna play a game. We're gonna put you into breakout rooms. All right. So you'll probably be with some people that you don't know, and that's great. That's what we want. And the object of the game is very simple. You might have played this as a child. You're gonna come up with a story. And the story needs to have a superhero versus a villain theme. Each person needs to come up with 2 different words, and all of those words need to be incorporated into the story. Each team needs to come up with a title for the story. I'll put all of these guides into the chat so that you'll have them, and we'll give you 5 minutes.
I have to tell you all, that was one of the funniest things I have done in a long, long time. I have laughed. I'm like sore all over. I have laughed so much. I swear to you, that was wonderful.
Nice.
Awesome.
I mean, you gave us a whole 5 minutes, right? I mean, God.
I know, and ours was brilliant.
I think it's really good. I really
Put it on the chat, right?
Yeah. Let's everybody post your story titles and your stories in the chat so we can all check it out.
I'll post ours, you guys.
Wow, I wish I had been on SB's team.
We're quite a team, I gotta say. We had a pretty good time with that.
It's going to take me a while because some people have really big words in our team.
We definitely did some spell check along the way.
Let's hear some of them. Can you read them out, Matt?
Yeah. So this is the first one. I need some other ones back. This is called Conquering the Night. It was a dark and stormy and scary and crazy night. A strong wind came and a light came on. Into the light stepped a fearless hero. With delight, the nefarious villain took aim. You can have this next.
Oh my God. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That was awesome right there.
This one's good. I love this one. All right. Our superhero, incognito dog, loves avocados. But the somniatory duck stole them with all of his laddish ego. Fight there, peonies, you somnatory.
That should be these. That should be these. Like these.
Fight these peonies.
Peonies.
Oh, that's all.
So fight these peonies, you somniatory ducks.
Somniatory duck.
We need some images. I need someone to draw something quick.
Yes, we should do
right,
that.
that's right.
I want to see what the hero looks like.
We could write a comic book here going.
Yes. Cool,
Oh
cool.
Lord, this has been great. I swear.
All right, is that all you got, Matt?
Yeah, that's it for now.
Awesome. That was great. That was awesome. Hopefully you have seen how creativity goes and how much fun it is when you're playing games, even with people you don't know. You get to laugh, you get to relax, and therefore your guards are down and you get to discover people in this way. So, oh my, there we go. All right, so I want to make sure we are focusing on particular games in order to go through the decaf. This is the best type of games you need to play. It's purposeful games and cooperative games. Now, purposeful games are games that are more than just entertainment. They are also educational. And cooperative games are games where the players are in a we situation, like in a team, versus the I, where it's me against you. So it's cooperation over competition. And something I forgot to mention earlier, in the decaf process, is best used for biases that have to do with people. So obviously, I'm not going to use that to find out if the shrimp wants me to eat it. So it only works with people.
Yeah, and games, of course, they create emotion. And creating emotion, when you get to the end, you have that time limit, or maybe you're playing a basketball game or something. You and your teammates are going to remember that for a long time. There's people I played football with growing up 30 years ago, and I can call them up today, and I'm sure I can say, hey, remember that game when you caught that pass, or when I did this? So those emotional parts of the games create long-lasting effects and bonds between people. And as Rahel mentioned, they suspend your differences. So while you guys were all playing this game, while you're all playing this game, using inclusive communications, you will notice that, yeah, you probably, you felt a little bit uncomfortable, you didn't know each other, but you were focused on this goal. And so you kind of forget about your differences. And the more you do this over time, the more friendships you create, because you're always put in a situation that's not fearful. It's a situation that's fun and engaging and makes you excited.
That's right. So games can help teams become more inclusive in so many ways. And some of those ways we have listed here, but I'm going to walk you through them and give you some examples. The first way of how games increase inclusiveness and an understanding in one another is, think about it. When you're playing a cooperative game, you're having to stay with someone you might not know or ever played with before, but now you got to be exposed to their personality. You got to see how they think, their perspective, how they come up with ideas, So you got to kind of expose some of the things you might not know about your team. And this creates some kind of inclusiveness and an understanding on how the people are, So I'll give you an example of one of our games here. In this game, there are two players, and each one of them gets a different part of this puzzle. In order to solve it, they have to communicate to each other on what they see on their sheets. And then they have to find out, how does that all work out together? So that means that one person has to talk to someone else and say, hey, what do you have over there? Oh, what do you think that means? Oh, I think this is like this. What do you think? Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. That is how you come to inclusiveness and an understanding.
Yeah, and you won't be able to play the game unless you include all the people. Games, of course, can reduce conflict and stress. So same as I mentioned, when you're playing a game, you're in a jovial atmosphere, you're having fun, you kind of focused on this goal, and you're forgetting about, that deadline that's due, or the project that's due, or, maybe some issues at home with your kids making a mess too much, or whatever. You kind of forget all that stuff. And reducing conflict, again, when you're involved in this common goal, this shared experience, you don't want to have conflict, because you won't make it to the goal if you start to have conflict. So you kind of put your guard down and let go of those things. And there's a lot of games out there. In fact, there's this huge book called The Big Book of Conflict Resolution Games. And you can see that there's a myriad of other benefits on top of just reducing conflict by playing games.
The next thing that games are good at doing is causing effective communication and active listening. In order to solve any kind of game that is like a strategy game, you have to communicate and share ideas. So you're gonna have to talk and you're gonna have to listen. A good example is in this game. In this game, there's like 3 players. Each one of them, again, has only one piece of this puzzle. And you need all of the information in order to solve it. Each player has to explain what they have on their sheet. That means everyone has to listen very attentively. And then they have to be good at being precise communicators. Let me tell you exactly what's on my sheet of paper so you know how that compares to your sheet of paper and maybe how it all works to give us something meaningful here.
And it also maximizes engagement and collaboration. Playing a game obviously is much more engaging than just listening to a lecture or attending some kind of meeting. We all love to play games. We love to watch games. Think of how much money is spent on games, board games, video games, watching sports, and collaboration. So, these games are designed in a way where you have to work together, you have to collaborate and explain to each other what you have and come up with ideas and solutions. How are we going to solve this? How are we going to go about this? Here's another example of that, where each person here has a different transcript, top secret government transcript, and you can see the transcripts are showing different conversations, and the people are speaking in codes. Apples taste the best in their prime. Eating carrots is like a drug. Well, what does that mean? And I'm engaged. I'm trying to capture a spy, and collaborating. Hey, I have something about carrots on mine. What do you have on yours? I have something about apples. Okay, how do those go together? And so this is a great way to engage people and help them learn how to collaborate better.
Also, games are great at boosting creativity and productivity. Many games that are cooperative require a lot of creativity. As you saw earlier, you had to get very creative with those words that you got, which, by the way, you're really good at. So when you have these creative moments, and it causes you to have to think in a different way, and that in your mind makes these neural networks, makes new neural network connections. That means when you're thinking about something next time, your mind will know how to do another kind of thinking to get to a different kind of idea. That creative process over time becomes stronger. Now you can see how you can become more productive because now you can be more effective. Instead of just doing something this way, now you've discovered you can do it that way. And it's more effective. I'm much faster. So a good example is seen here in one of our games. You have to figure out, again, everyone only has one piece of the puzzle, and you have to figure, well, what does this mean? Well, I have this little shape and circles and codes and some strange symbols. What do these mean? This will have to cause you to be creative with your team and come up with different ways on how you can get a code out of this confusion.
And if you're looking to transform the culture of your business, your corporation, your teams, games are a great way to do that. Imagine being able to tell a prospective employee, hey, guess what? We get to play games here. Every Friday we get together and we play these games. I think that'd be a really cool company to work for. And just having a company culture where people are able to laugh and joke around and have fun transforms those cultures into cultures where there might be some toxicity or maybe some fear into cultures that are more open and accepting of each other.
Yeah, that's right. If you think about it, I will be having more excitement going to work when I know my teammates have my back. My teammates are fun. My teammates make me feel like I can speak and be myself when I come to work. So these kind of cultures are more exciting than, trying to do some alternatives.
And so, as you can see here, all these benefits just by playing the game together. Transforming your culture, making your teams strength stronger, maximizing their engagement. And, I imagine if I was, imagine a young girl, maybe a young African-American woman, just graduated from college, just has her degree, and she walks into the corporate world, and by today's standards, the majority of them are going to be older white men. It's going to feel very uncomfortable for her to feel included and to be part of this organization. But through all of these effects, all of these benefits, over time, she can feel more and more inclusive, right? The more that they include her in the games and include her in collaboration, and the games force you to have to include each other. And so she's going to feel, oh, okay, my opinion is valued. My work is valued. What I've contributed to the team is now valued. I don't feel so much like an outsider.
So as we mentioned before, Matt and I have volcanic topics that could have had us kill each other a long time ago. It's important to remember to find common ground and move to the halfway point. By doing this, both parties involved feel that my view matters. What I am saying is actually important, and that you are actually listening and are willing to let me live my life the way I want to live it. Listen, we are all human in the human race. We are all seeking the same goal and playing the same game. So I leave you with this. Where are you in the decaf process with your biases? And what are the next steps that you are going to take to become a more inclusive person? That's it. Thank you so much for listening to us today. We appreciate you coming and joining us, and we hope that you had fun and learned some few things from us. And we are willing to stay around and answer any questions that you might have. And for everyone that joined us today, we made a game for you, which Matt is going to put on the chat, that you can share with your colleagues, your family, and your friends, and try it out and see how that can loosen you up and cause you to get more into an inclusive state.